Hey there, everyone. Welcome to our Employer Toolkit webinar series. This is our very first webinar, and we're doing this one on safe storage and disposal. Glad that you could be with us today. My name is TJ Ward. I am the North Florida Director of Advocacy for Project Opioid. We got involved with this project through the North Florida Polydrug Task Force, and we're invited to be a part of the Employer Workforce Committee, who has created an amazing toolkit with resources for employers like yourselves that will help you create a prevention-minded and recovery-supportive workplace. And so we're excited to share some information with you today that we feel like can help you understand the need for some of what we're encouraging you to engage in through this not only this series, but even within your workplace. And so I want to introduce to you a friend of mine, a great partner in this work. Her name is Susan Pittman. She's the founder of Drug Free Duval and also the lead for the Employer Workforce Committee. I want to turn it over to you, Susan.
Thanks, TJ. As you said, I'm Susan Pittman, and I am so grateful and thrilled that Project Opioid moved into the North Florida area, and that you and your phenomenal team have agreed to be part of this great work. And you guys have brought so much to the effort. It's just really amazing. So we appreciate it. And the great amplification and knowledge and insight and context that you've brought to the Polydrug Task Force and specifically to the Employer Workforce Committee is deeply, deeply appreciated. So thank you. And just to mention really quickly, we are the Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition here in Jacksonville, Drug Free Duval. And that work brought us in touch with an amazing person that you're going to hear interviewed in a few minutes named Richard Preston. And Richard is a Jacksonville native. He is a former alcohol and drug addict, and he'll tell you a little bit about that. But he also was an employee. And he was employed by major insurance companies and by the engineering industry in major engineering firms. So here he was struggling with this issue, but at the same time working. And that's why this is so important for you to hear, because he, as an inspirational writer and recovery entrepreneur, agreed to sit down with Drug Free Duval years ago and really talk about the impact that the workplace had on both his opportunity to use and his ability to quietly continue in his addiction. And he wants to be an agent for change. And so he has just absolutely been a huge impetus for us in the development of the Employer Workforce Committee as a whole, and then specifically the Employee Toolkit. And we just really appreciate the opportunity to sit down with him and hope that you gain a lot of information. And if you have any more questions, please reach out to TJ or me and let's move forward. So with no further ado, here's our interview with Mr. Richard Preston.
Richard, wow. Richard, it is amazing to be here sitting with you. It's such a privilege, and it's been an honor to know you for these years and really co-labor with you in the community. So your story really isn't what people think of when they think of addiction. You know, it's unique, it's different. So you came from a really good supportive family, right?
I did. I had a mom who was a housewife and a dad who the only thing he wanted for his kids was to have a better life than him and to go to college and get a good education.
And you graduated from college, right?
No, actually I didn't. There's some stumbles in my life that kept me from graduating college, but I went to college on a mathematics scholarship. Went to Jacksonville University, as a matter of fact.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell us about your career, well, high school and then leading into college, and then kind of how your addiction process happened for you.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. Coming up, like I said, my father always was all about education. So academics came very easily. So as I went through school, I was dibbing and dabbing and drinking and doing my little thing. But I mastered very well because I did well in school. And I went on to be voted most likely to succeed. I was in the top 10% of my graduating class of 576, and I scored a 1460 on my SAT test. I, Susan, was considered the Black Bill Nye the Science Guy. I was a nerd in school. So physics, calculus, trigonometry, all came very easy to me. And I earned that mathematics scholarship at Jacksonville University.
That's amazing. So what was your first kind of job, and how did you enter into the professional world?
I went into the corporate world, State Farm Insurance out in Bay Meadows, 500 people under one roof. And I got that job. I was engaged to be married, and the young lady's mom was an executive. And that's how I got my first job at corporate America.
Well, your story literally has been foundational for Drug Free Duval and Project Opioid now partnering together in terms of considering how to incorporate prevention into our employer toolkit, because there's lots of employer toolkits and employers out there that are thinking about recovery, which is super important. And so we're taking nothing from that. But one of the most exciting things that this project is working on is the idea that we're also calling employers to the amazing opportunity they have to create a prevention-minded workplace. And many of the things that you have shared with us through the years have been what made us come up with this concept. So can you share a couple of ways that employer policies and practices left open doors for you to continue in your addiction? What are some of the things you experienced?
Well, some of the things I experienced was there really weren't any set policies about medications. So as I progressed into my addiction, I found it very, very easy, like taking candy from a baby, as they would say, to go into people's desks. Ladies would leave their purse sitting under their desk, and I would go into them. When I couldn't find drugs, I would find money, and I would use that money to go buy drugs and go do my thing.
And how'd you get away with that? I mean, obviously you didn't do it in front of other people. So how did you get away with that kind of behavior without getting caught?
As an addict, I had become the master manipulator. And because of my security code, I had a 24 access to the building. I actually would strike when people were at lunch, when people were at work, at break, when they were taking smoke breaks. And then ultimately I started coming in over the weekends. And I knew who had what, I knew where it was. I had become the master manipulator at getting what I want.
Wow, that's really a big thing for you to admit. And I just want you to know, as an organization, as a team, and as a community member, I'm really grateful that you are willing to share this, because it's helped me see vulnerabilities as an employer and in my home and all kinds of stuff that I didn't even realize I was leaving open for somebody who was struggling. So do you think it's the responsibility of the employer to keep people safe?
Not only the responsibility, but I think it's an opportunity. Because I want to add this, Susan. So that was corporate America. And I always joke, and in my books, I talk about I drank my way out of that job. And that was in the 80s. And then into the 90s, I went into an aerospace company. I was working in the engineering department. And it seemed to have gotten easier. Now, I don't know if I honed my craft so good to where it was easier for me, but they were primed for the picking. I was very well respected in the place, and I really, really took advantage of that. I even went so far I was getting money and drugs from the cleaning lady. I had a corner office, and she would come in. So I actually would work overtime purposely to get money from this lady to help fuel my habit.
Wow. So I think that's something that people don't really realize about folks that are suffering from substance use disorder or addiction, is that part of the illness is because you're driven to get your hands on medications or drugs or substances, and you've said it a couple times, you were a master manipulator, and you were able to be look at things from an angle maybe that we're not. And that's why it's so valuable that you're speaking into this, because it really helps us to think not in a way that's angry or defensive, but in a way that's proactive, as you said, that creates the opportunity. So what are some things you think that an employer could have implemented that could have deterred you, not fixed you, not made it their responsibility, but just provided a more conducive workplace to you not even having the temptation? What are some things an employer could have done?
Well, I think if they would have, I don't know if you can mandate it, but
It's hurricane warning.
sorry, y'all. I don't know if you can mandate it or not, but one of the easy opportunities, like I said, was people storing medicine in drawers. As with my work with Drug Free Duval, we used to sponsor prescription or drug disposal days. I think that would be great in the workplace, just like they do with the shredded paper. I mean, you can just interject drugs. I mean, they already have it in place. I think some peer support, mentorship, people like you and I coming in and talking about this so it can be top of mind to people, because just like you said, people just don't know about this, and just how crafty and cunning someone who has an addiction problem will go to the length to get their drug.
Yeah, those are really some good ideas. One of the things that I think of a lot is how if you are in a workplace and there's a catastrophic situation that happens, if as an employee or one of your children or something gets in a terrible car accident or something, we all rally around and do whatever we can, whether it's bring meals or contribute to a GoFundMe or something to help support, take work to and from the home, while the person's incapacitated and stuff. We really do rally around, but we have a real gap when it comes to mental health and substance abuse. And I think one of the things that you're really helping me consider, and this whole team consider, is ways that we can rally around this illness, ways that we can rally around and make simple changes in our policies and practices. I mean, what about, when you did hit recovery and you began to need to attend meetings regularly, is there anything the employer could have done to help support that?
Yes. We hear about employers being out of the box now, and a lot of these young progressive companies are doing great things at it with physical therapy, with yoga. Well, I think also with people, because I can't think of a place that I go to now that there isn't people that are in active recovery. And I think if they were given times, maybe have a meetings at the work site, or give them extra flex time to go to offsite meetings. And I just think in today's scope, 100,000 people died of drug overdoses last year. And you and I both know that's more than car crashes and gunshot victims combined. So I just think it's time to overcome the stigma, because that's a lot of things, as you well know, Susan, that we have to overcome the stigma of what the addict looks like, and just be there for their needs.
Yeah, those are really good words. And all of these are great ideas. And the thing is, all of them can be implemented. It's not like they're not expensive, they're not hard. I mean, changing some subtle policies, like you said, not allowing drugs in drawers, and maybe flex time for for meetings, and having peer mentorship, all those kinds of things are really, really amazing. I think you did mention, yes, you did, about having some kind of, in relation to like shredding paper, if you had the drug disposal units, or a drug disposal capability for every single employee, like with our doTERRA bags and things like that. All of those are just amazing ideas and not very expensive or no money, right? Taking
That's
a
right.
policy of no cash. So what are you doing today? Tell us about what you're doing. How is your recovery, and what are you doing to change our world?
Well, I wear a few hats, as you well know. I have written obviously a couple of books on addiction. I have them
Do you
with
have
me.
them? Show us,
I
yeah.
did. And I work hand in hand with you guys with the education committee at Drug Free Duval. And I also, and here's my new venture, and I am sitting in the office here of Project Save Lives. And Project Save Lives is a sober living environment that we only cater to guys that have committed to a 6-month or more treatment facility. And we have designated treatment facilities that we will only accept these guys from. Now, these facilities are typically out in rural areas. We use the Bridges of Hope a lot. They're in Georgia. They have 4 locations, but these are commitments when you go to these treatment facilities. There's no interaction with your family when you go. There's no television. There's no women. There's no internet. It is you and the 12 steps of recovery and trying to change your life. So we accept guys from those programs. We will bring them here. We partner them up with the Northeast Florida Builders Association to try to learn them a trade. And they have a trade. They can go into carpentry. They can go into HVAC, plumbing, sheet metal, or carpentry. And we try to, instead of giving them a fish, we try to teach them how to fish. This project is unique. It also comes if you have a driver's license, and if you're insurable, it comes with an automobile. This is so you can get to work, so you can get to your classes, so you can get to your meetings, and we are faith friendly, so you can get to attend to your spiritual needs as well. So it's a one-of-a-kind program. We've been doing this for about a year, actually a little longer, but COVID had a little something to say about that. And we have opened our second house, and it is just a beautiful thing. And I think, before then, I owned 3 sober living houses, and my sober living houses are scattered throughout suburbia, Jacksonville, Fleming Island, Mandarin, and the Beach and Kernan area. And those are more conventional sober living homes. The only need to really get into that home is to be able to test negative on a drug screen. But we offer all the things that we think you need to be sober: cognitive behavioral therapy, relapse prevention, purpose-driven life, and of course, NA and AA. And I've been in business with that for 5 years. And we've had some mighty good success. As a matter of fact, we were doing some stats the other day, Susan, and I have 24 guys in those 3 houses. 7 of those guys have been in the house for over a year, and 1 of them is approaching 2 years, and that's over 33% if you're doing the math, and I know you are. And it's just been wonderful. So thanks for asking.
Well, I think the thing that's really key to employers to hear about everything you just said is you're helping your various methods, your sober living, and certainly your Project Save Lives are helping folks that have suffered from this particular disease, not just deal with the disease, but then re-enter in a really thoughtful and mindful way into an employment situation, and learn how to work, and even providing them a vehicle. So I just want to bring attention to that you're providing vehicles to insurable people who can have a driver's license so that they then can get to work and stuff. So this is a model that is something that our employers might be very interested in, and perhaps right now you said you're partnering with Northeast Florida Builders Association, but maybe it's something that some of our other either associations or individual corporations, we're tight on, we need to find employees to fill these jobs, you guys. And one of the reasons we have trouble finding employees to fill jobs is because we had 107,633 people overdose in 2021. And, you know, we have, according to the Commission on Combating Drug Trafficking, which was a bipartisan report done by the Senate and the House at the US level, at the federal House and Senate, it's costing our country over $1 trillion a year, $1 trillion.
Wow.
And so this
Wow.
is really critical. So thank you for helping, because one of the big areas is the loss of productivity because of the loss of lives. The majority of people dying are between 18 and 45. And that's the most highly productive years that we have as humans in this country. So it's really interesting that you're hitting this niche, and we appreciate what you're bringing both to prevention, because you've certainly taught us a lot about how to be prevention minded in the workplace, but also some of these innovative ideas for walking alongside somebody in recovery. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to tack onto that a little bit. The employers, and we have a couple of relationships here in the city, and you touched on it. They employ our guys immediately because, one, they know they're sober. Two, they know they're dependable and they have dependable transportation. And that's one of the things that's really adding to what's causing the $1 trillion or $12 trillion that you just talked about deficit with all of our employees and what it's costing the country. So it's been a great fit, and we're gonna get this, we're gonna max out at 10 houses. We have 2 now, and the goal is, and our vision is to have 10 of those houses doing just that. So thank you for letting me talk about that a little bit. If anybody needs any information, just let me know.
Well, Richard, as you know, this is a recording, but we will have your contact information, and you'll be live on the actual webinar. So you'll be able to answer some questions that come up through the chat box and stuff. So we just appreciate so much, sir. I mean,
All right.
I know that it has helped Drug Free Duval in our quest to be prevention minded, and certainly has helped Project Opioid and Drug Free Duval, the Polydrug Task Force, all of us as a team to create a really much stronger employer toolkit. So thank you for your heart and your mind and your thoughts and your insights and your dedication to this really important area for all of us in health. So we just appreciate you.
And I'd like to end with this. And for anybody that's out there and you want to know a little bit of something about recovery, I always tell people, Susan, there's a right and a wrong way to recovery. The right path is change, with an appropriate starting point that flows, followed by interconnected activities that flow in a logical sequence. With the big emphasis being change. To all of my people that are struggling with substances, it's not just enough to put that substance down. Now we get into life and we work on ourselves. And like I said, I became the master manipulator. Now I'm just the opposite. I was the most selfish person. Now I'm selfless. I was dishonest. Now I'm honest. When we start working on those things that channel us on the inside, then we're cooking with grease. I want to thank you again for having me today, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Richard. It's been amazing, and can't wait to kick it back to TJ so that he can close us out on this amazing webinar. And we just really appreciate it. Keep in mind change, right?
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
Well, thanks, Susan. Really appreciate you setting that up and conducting that interview with Richard Preston. I want to say a special thanks to Richard as well. I'm not sure if he's on today or not. I don't know if he was able to make it, but want to say thanks to all of you who are viewing, and want to be mindful of your time. We want to get you back to work there, or to lunch, I guess, here in the next couple minutes. But before we do, just a few takeaways that we wanted to highlight from the interview. And the first one is that you see them right there on the screen. Anyone can be struggling. This is an issue that impacts all of us. It is no respecter of persons. We're so glad to see that story of hope with Richard and what he's doing now. and how he's using his experience to help other people. But I think we need to be aware of the fact that this thing does not discriminate. And so we have to be ready and available to help everyone. Also want to point out a statistic that of the 46 million people who took an illicit drug or misused a prescription med in 2021, 75% of those people were employed somewhere, either part-time or full-time. And so sometimes employers tend to think, well, this isn't happening in my company, not in my organization. But the truth of the matter is, we know that a lot of people who come to work on a regular basis are struggling with this issue. And if it's not them themselves, they have people that they are caring for at home who are dealing with this. And so we know it is impacting the large majority of the employees that are in the workforce. We want to help. And you heard Susan and Richard talk about some ways that you can make a difference, some really simple on-ramps that are available to you. One of the things that was mentioned was just making sure that things get locked up at the workplace, providing opportunities for employees to lock their personal items up in their desks so that people aren't maybe rummaging through things like Richard explained that he did oftentimes. Another thing that I thought was extremely practical that we highly encourage you as an employer to implement within your company is what we call Deterra, an easy way to get rid of prescription medication. Drug Free Duval has access to this product, and we would encourage you to reach out to Drug Free Duval and Susan to see how you can get trained on using Deterra and potentially even get Deterra for your company for free of charge. Another thing that was touched on was DEA Drug Take Back Day. Those occur in October and April, so we have one coming up here. For more information on that, you can go to dea.gov/takebackday, and you can see the locations in our area where you can drop off prescription meds that you aren't using, or even over-the-counter meds that are expired, and you can get rid of those safely and securely through DEA Drug Take Back Day. You can also just simply Google permanent drop-off locations for drugs that you could take in between those take back days. And of course, we're happy to help. Drug Free Duval is happy to assist in any way. So is Project Opioid Jacks. And so we just want to encourage you to really, as an employer, as somebody who is caring for people that work for you, to provide opportunities for them to be successful if they are in recovery. Some of the things that were mentioned, maybe providing some flex time for people to get away to meetings or to go to appointments that are going to help them in this recovery process. Even perhaps hosting an event or some training through Drug Free Duval at your workplace. Those are some simple things that I think every employer can do to really make a difference in the lives of those who are in recovery. Remember, the idea behind this whole thing is to help you create a prevention-minded and recovery-supportive workplace. And that's going to lead to a culture that your employees appreciate, and one that is going to lead to even more productivity for your business or your organization. So with that, I think we have a couple of minutes left. I want to mention that we have our next webinar coming up on January the 10th. And you can see right there is a QR code that you can scan to sign up for that. We're going to be talking about stress and how to deal with stress in the workplace. Did you realize the #1 reason for drug misuse in the workplace among employees is stress? And I think we can all relate to a certain level of that. We all experience stress, whether it be in our work life or personal life. And we know people are carrying personal life into their jobs. That's just something that we all do. And so everybody is dealing with a certain level of stress. And we want to help you as employers, help your employees with some simple tools that you can utilize and even pass along to them to help deal with stress. So we hope you'll sign up for that. And we look forward to seeing you on January the 10th, if not before. But thank you for joining us today for our workplace webinar. We hope to be able to see you again in January. And again, we're available to help in any way that you might need. So don't hesitate to reach out to us at Drug Free Duval or at Project Opioid Jacks. Have a great day, everyone.